a sandwich. Now. Oh, sandwich wench. Yo, wench. Sandwich. Now. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. Sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. A sandwich. A sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. Sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. A sandwich. Oh, sandwich wench. I want a sandwich. Sandwich. Hello everyone, welcome back to another, what do we call this, Prime Minister's Questions stream, is that what this is? Yes it is, on the Moisky Live channel. Today is the 22nd of June 2022, and I have watched about no questions from Keir Starmer, but I have seen the 2 questions from Ian Blackford. So we shall be delving into that today. In fact, we're just going to go straight into it because, honestly, cancer, and I'm all about that. So let me just remember to put these up so I can see them. If you do want to support this channel, please consider doing so by liking the stream down below. Or if you really want to support this channel, help me finish my log cabin. Or if my... What the hell's going on with my mouse? That's better. For some reason I couldn't see it. How strange was that? Or if you'd like to support the channel, there's a Ko-fi link down below. Or that thing on the left side. Hello, Ahsoka. Hope you're well. Hello, Charles. Hope you're well. Hello, Alison B. A sandwich, you say? Yes, I like a sandwich. So I don't know where it starts or when it starts. So do forgive me.
Government that is to be well concerns about intervention in the objectives of access for northern communities in Northern Ireland. I said that the EU must show more flexibility and listen to the unionist concerns. But if cross-community support is so important to government, can he confirm that the current plans also have the support of the nationalist community? Well, the honourable gentleman talks about Belfast.
Look at that, it looks like Keir Starmer there, but he's not there yet.
He possibly hasn't even read it. So I would suggest one thing that has been common and clear is outlining all 3 strands of the Belfast Good Friday. We will never... Yes, Mr. Speaker, the government...
Why am I getting... I'm getting Boris, but I'm not getting Boris at all.
International challenge.
Outcomes led...
Thereafter to Chogum.
How strange is that? Do you see that? Like, if I linger over here, Keir Starmer and Boris, yeah? We don't get them until like 20 minutes in.
And it is not about north-south, it is about improving life opportunities in communities across the whole of the United Kingdom, especially in Northern Ireland.
That must be the loudest cheer any minister's ever had before. Well done, Minister. Before we come to Prime Minister's questions, I'd like to point out...
can anyone update you on the Northern Ireland issue? The EU is legally going to challenge the UK's changes.
We start with questions to Prime Minister Chris Elmore.
One, sir. Mr. Speaker, to mark Windrush Day, today sees the unveiling of a national monument at Waterloo Station that acknowledges the Windrush generation's outstanding contribution to British society and will also be a permanent place of reflection. Mr. Speaker, as part of our...
You mean graffiti, right? That's what it means. By the way, this lip service to the Windrush generation, I take no real issue with it, as long as it didn't cost me much. Hello, Joe. Hello, Jay. Hope you're both well today.
Forces Week. I was delighted to host a reception yesterday in Downing Street. Members across the House are immensely proud of our armed forces, and we thank them and their families for their service to our country. And Mr. Speaker, I know the House will welcome the deal that we've signed with Moderna, which will see them build new facilities in the UK, including around £1 billion of new investment in research and development. Mr. Speaker,
I mean, that's actually good news.
Meetings with ministerial colleagues and others, in addition to my...
No lie, Pfizer are here, Moderna as well. That's actually interesting. That, you know, hello Peng, hope you're well. More lies and diversion, yeah, I tend to agree. But, you know, this is interesting, you know. It doesn't change the fact that our inflation's now at 9.1%, though. Just thought I'd let you know.
Duties in this House I shall have further such meetings later today, and I will be travelling thereafter to Chogum in Rwanda. I will then be attending the G7 Leaders Summit and the NATO Summit, Mr. Speaker, so a full budget of news for you there.
Chris Elmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I associate myself with the Prime Minister's comments in relation to the armed forces and the comment? Prime Minister, has he ever considered the appointment of his current spouse to a government post or to any organisation in one of the royal households? Be honest, Prime Minister, yes or no?
Yes or no?
Mr. Speaker, I know why the...
Okay, I actually don't know what the context for that is. Do forgive me. I genuinely didn't know that.
The party opposite wants to talk about non-existent jobs in the media, Mr. Speaker, because they don't want to talk about what's going on in the real world.
So I know there definitely has to be discussion today of the strikes that have been going on. I mean, I get why. I think they've chosen the most opportune moment to do it. But it's a moment where I don't think reasonably these pay rises can be implemented anyway.
I'm proud to say, actually, that we now have 620,000 people more in payroll employment than before the pandemic began, which would never have been possible if we listened to the right honourable gentleman opposite.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The UK is the global leader in social outcomes contracts. They can deliver public services in an array of areas from healthcare, mental health care, employment, education and development aid. According to Big Society Capital, every £1 the government has spent in this way has delivered £10 in a further economic, social and fiscal value, including £3 in direct savings to government. Does my right honourable friend agree that the time is right for the government to redouble its focus on these outcomes-led commissioning?
So this is a lip service question, a plant, as I usually call them. It's one solely done where a mug, so this one, will then just give a question that seems complicated or one that can then be used to fluff up the Conservative Party and their position. Problem is, 9.1% inflation, you fucking idiots. I know it's a global issue at the moment, and I fully appreciate that, but come on, we're not mugs. Stop with this bollocks, all right?
My honourable friend is absolutely right to champion this type of approach, which makes a real difference to people's lives, people suffering from mental health issues, helping them to find a route back into work, and that's why we are commissioning more initiatives through such funds as the Life Chances Fund, helping those people in society who face the biggest barriers to have happy and productive lives.
We now come to the Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I join the Prime Minister in his comments about Windrush? And can I pay tribute to everyone who is serving and has served in our armed forces? Can I also pay tribute to everyone standing for election tomorrow? In particular, the plucky Conservative candidate for Wakefield. He's standing even though his own colleagues think he's so useless they held a vote of no confidence in him.
That's impressive.
Does the Prime Minister... Does the Prime Minister hold any personal interest in seeing if the public will vote for a Tory that even his own side don't think is up to it?
I don't know why they've backed him if that's the case. Why would you back up? Oh, you know what, it's fine.
Mr. Speaker, I have absolutely no doubt that the people of this country and the people of Wakefield, people of Tiverton and Honiton would much rather vote for a solid Conservative government than for a Labour Party. There are enablers and acolytes in the Liberal Democrats, Mr. Speaker, the chameleons, the karma chameleons of British politics. When the leader of the Labour Party hasn't even got the gumption, Mr. Speaker, to speak out against the rail strike.
But he did last week. He literally last week said he does not stand in, he's not in favour of it. That's what he said. Maybe he needs to actually tweet this out or something. I don't know.
For the people in the north of this country, up and down this country, absolutely unbelievable silence from the leader of the Labour Party, Mr. Speaker.
He's obviously not been to Wakefield recently. He's crashed the economy. He's put everybody's tax up. The last Tory sent up to Wakefield being convicted of a sexual assault. That's not much of a pitch, Prime Minister. Talking of people not up to the job, whilst the Transport Secretary spends his time working on his spreadsheet tracking the Prime Minister's unpopularity, thousands of families have had their holiday flights cancelled. It takes forever to renew your driving licence or passport, and now we've got the biggest rail strike in 30 years. If he is genuine,
it is a big one. I'm very impressed with the anger here from Conservatives, because they can keep bragging about employment being high, but the inflation is still 9.1%. This is not a good thing at all. You've cocked this one up royally. And I know it's a global issue, but you've got to find a way to help people without just borrowing money. Do something meaningful. Let's go with that.
Both sides, let's calm down. We've only just started. The problem is he'll go on forever and nobody wants that, sure you? Whoever's speaking or asking questions, be a stammer.
If he's genuine about preventing strikes, will the Prime Minister tell this House how many meetings he or his Transport Secretary have had with rail workers this week to actually stop the strikes?
That answer should probably be 0, since the leader of one of the unions has been on TV most of the time, berating the presenters on TV for saying, "Oh, you just chosen the wrong moment." Actually, no, he chose the exact moment to do it. The correct moment. When the economy is at its weakest, they then say, "Well, we're about to stuff you some more because we want money as well."
Mr. Speaker, this is the government that loves the railways, that invests in the railways. Not £96 billion we're putting into the integrated railway plan building.
Even though most of it's privatised, we're investing money in it. That's interesting. Almost like we should own some of it. Just saying.
Not just, I'm proud to have built Crossrail, by the way, Mr. Speaker, and we're going to build Northern Powerhouse Rail. But what we've got to do is modernise our railways. And it is a disgrace when we are planning to make sure that you don't have ticket offices that sell fewer than one ticket every hour, Mr. Speaker, that he yesterday had 25 Labour MPs out on the picket line, defying instructions.
I want to hear the Prime Minister's answer, even if you don't. I think you ought to show some respect for the Prime Minister. Prime Minister.
Out on the 25...
I agree with the strike. Let's see. As awful as it is, I agree with the strike. Employment rates up, meaning forcing disabled people into work after denying it and getting people to have 2 or 3 jobs to get by. That's not something they're willing to think about, though. That's the problem. Technically, I have 2 jobs. One as a cleaner and one as a content creator. I enjoy both, though, luckily, but if I had to do a third, I think this would be absolute misery for me, because it wouldn't feel like a fun job.
And the shadow,
but to force what they've done is guarantee that they've caused more issues with poverty.
Strikers, Mr. Speaker, while we back the strivers.
Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised he's giving me advice about my team. If I do need advice, let's say about a £100,000 job at the Foreign Office, I will ask him for recommendation.
Okay, that I swear that must be a dig at Carrie, his wife, Carrie Simmons or Carrie Johnson.
And there you, Mr. Speaker, there you
That's
have
surely
it.
a conflict of
The
interest.
Prime Minister of this country and his Transport Secretary haven't attended a single meeting, held a conversation, or lifted a finger to stop these strikes. But I did note that on Monday they did find time to go to a lavish ball where the Prime Minister sold a meeting with himself for £120,000 to a donor. If there's money coming his way, he's there. He's nowhere to be seen. So rather than blame everyone else, why doesn't he do his job, get round the table and get the trains running?
So that actually, to be honest, with what the lack of I say open, transparent conversation with the railways and the unions gives off the impression of Boris taking the very American stance of we don't negotiate with terrorists, you know. Except that's a lie. Everyone does. they appease them if they can as well, if only to keep receiving certain gifts. Boris should have by now, and the Transport Secretary Grant Shapps, I think it is, they should have by now done something about this.
Mr. Speaker, we are making sure that we do everything we can to prevent these strikes. As he knows, it is up to the railway companies to negotiate. That is their job. We've spent £16 billion looking after the railways, Mr. Speaker.
So that's actually something else, because they're on strike because they want more money from the railway companies. And that's actually perfectly reasonable, to be honest. If your wages aren't matching inflation, especially, then yeah, you probably want to make a complaint or two. It's intriguing to me because we, the UK, and the UK government especially, keep bailing out the railway companies, almost like they can't run without more taxpayer money. I find that fascinating. Is that because of profit, or is that because you're busy improving the service? I've only once or twice in my lifetime seen improved services. I will admit high-speed rail is actually quite nice. I love that service. I do quite like the new Greater Anglia Rail service. The trains are fantastic now. They didn't used to be for about 15 years. Like, where is the improved service, though, for everyone else?
Throughout the pandemic, that's cost every household £600. And at the same time, we know why he takes the line he does. We know why he won't condemn the strike. We know why even now he hasn't got the gumption to call out his MPs who are going out on...
It could be because Labour use unions as a part of their infrastructure,
going out to support the pickets, Mr. Speaker.
He is better than Grayling.
His authority is on the line in this matter is that they take £10 million from the unions, Mr. Speaker. That's the fee that the learned gentleman opposite is receiving for the case he is failing to make.
He can't help himself. There's a huge problem facing the country, and all he's interested in doing is blaming everyone else. Can't he hear the country screaming at him, get on with your job?
But he is. That's why employment is an all-time high, everyone.
Whilst he blames everyone and anyone, working people are paying the price. This week, his Treasury Minister said there's a society-wide responsibility for people to take a pay cut. At the same time, his Chief of Staff is trying to change the law to get bankers' bonuses increased. So come on, only one of them can be right. Is it his Treasury Minister who says every worker needs a pay cut? Or is it his Chief of Staff who says every banker needs a pay rise?
Not necessarily a pay rise, bonus, only if they do a good job.
Actually, Mr. Speaker, under this government, 5 million public sector workers are getting a pay rise, Mr. Speaker. We've increased the living wage by £1,000. We've increased...
That doesn't mean shit when you include the fact that national insurance went up and so did taxes. Just thought I'd let you know.
Universal credit so that people get £1,000 more.
Universal credit is for people who aren't in work.
Thanks to the fiscal firepower that we have, Mr. Speaker.
You mean borrowing, right?
We're putting £1,200 more into...
No, it's not 1,200. It's much less than that. Don't lie.
Every one of the 8 million most vulnerable households in the country.
See, that doesn't mean shit. Only the most vulnerable. That's not 8 million households. It's nowhere near that number. I promise you that.
That is what we can do because of the tough decisions that we have taken, Mr.
You mean the decision where you went, yo, China, can we borrow some more money, please?
Mr. Speaker. But meantime, what we're also trying to do is cut the costs of transport, which is a big part of people's weekly outgoings.
That's never gone down. Don't even try me. Right, they are stuck with the old stuff, aren't they? I used to take the train to Norwich all the time from where I live now, where I've always lived. Well, my family moved here in 2005. And the train to get to London was always rubbish. The high-speed rail train I do enjoy. It's nice and comfortable. The chairs have a nice high back on them. Perfect for me, really. Also, doesn't take as long. Big win. Stratford, make the change, get to the other side of Stratford, which is just through the shopping centre, Westfield. The trains then were horrendous. Quality was abysmal. But now, I did that journey a few weeks back when I came back from Norwich after I stayed there for a few days with my friend. And the train was absolutely fantastic. It reminded me of the train I took to Nottingham from St Pancras. And I've only ever been on that one once because it wasn't there the second time.
By reforming our railways. That's what we're trying to do. But he's standing with the strikers, Mr. Speaker.
Deflection. Boris, deflection. Oh, but he's standing with them. He's standing with them. You could just talk to them, Boris. If you could be asked, or if they paid you enough money. On that note, the Ko-fi link just there.
For everybody, that's the reality.
Bye, Normie. Hi,
His
Normie.
Chief of Staff says that removing the cap on bankers' bonuses is, in his words, reflective of our new approach. Pay rises for city bankers, pay cuts for district nurses. That's the new approach. Mr. Speaker, I didn't see that on any leaflets in Wakefield. But this hasn't come from nowhere, because according to the Financial Times, on the 7th of June last year, the Prime Minister was directly lobbied for the cap to be lifted. Rather than help working people, he's rolled over on bankers' bonuses, hasn't he?
I do think that. So the thing with the bankers' bonus thing is, it's a bonus. That's not their wages. I don't know. It's a strange one because I take no issue with bonuses. I really don't. It might incentivize people to work harder, and our finance sector is one of our strongest assets. It's one of the few we have left anyway. After a lot of it was sold off or privatised by that government or that former government.
Mr. Speaker, what we're actually doing is putting, thanks to the decisions we've taken, we are putting more money into the pockets of people up and down the country, £1,200 more for the 8 million most vulnerable households. And the reason we can do that, Mr. Speaker, is because we took the tough decisions necessary to come out of the pandemic.
Thing is, you said 8 million most vulnerable households. The thing is, with you bragging about employment being as high as it is, how many of those 8 million do you actually think will get any? Because I think it's going to be a much lower number.
Faster than any other European country. That's why we have unemployment at or near record lows, Mr. Speaker. None of that would have been possible.
Don't worry, they've had a few of those around Alfonso. There's a lot of them actually. Covered them in the Halls of Injustice.
The pandemic began. That is what the British people know, and that is what this government is going to continue to deliver.
15 tax rises, high tax, low wages, low growth. That sums his government up. Working people paying more tax under this government, and now they're told to take a pay cut. He's having meetings about increasing bankers' bonuses, but he can't find time for a single meeting to end the strikes crippling the country.
Priorities are rather interesting, aren't they?
Mr. Speaker, it's Armed Forces Week. Under this Prime Minister, those serving our country are facing a real terms tax pay cut. Why is his government more focused on increasing bank...
Order. Mr McNeil, your voice isn't quiet, it's like mine, it carries. So the best thing to do, if you want it to carry, try standing on the terrace for a while. Here's one.
Mr Speaker, it's Armed Forces Week. Under this Prime Minister, those serving our country are facing a real terms pay cut. Why is his government more focused on increasing bankers' pay than the pay of those that are running the country?
I think because the finance sector actually generate a lot of money, just maybe that's it.
How absolutely satirical that he should talk about our support for the armed forces when we've increased our funding for our armed forces by a record sum since the end of the Cold War, and when 8 of the shadow front bench actually want to get rid of our nuclear deterrent, Mr. Speaker, including the shadow foreign secretary. We're helping people up. Yes, it's true. Maybe it's true, Mr. Speaker. We are helping people up and down the country. £1,200 will be coming into their bank accounts of the 8 million most vulnerable households. The cut in national insurance.
I keenly await hearing that we got nothing.
And will be coming into their bank account.
Because that, I'm not saying we're vulnerable, but his definition of a vulnerable thing, I'm going to talk to my neighbours, because a lot of them I know are on like state welfare. I reckon none of them will get it.
As a result of the steps my right honourable friend is saying. But what we're also doing is reforming our systems so we cut costs for people up and down the country. Reforming our energy markets, building a nuclear reactor every year rather than one every 10 years, Mr. Speaker, getting people off welfare into work. 500,000 people off welfare into work because we cut the time people are waiting on benefits, Mr. Speaker, and cutting the costs of transport for working people, Mr. Speaker, by delivering reforms.
No, a lot of these questions could have been one-word answers, but Boris has deflected on every single one. Just thought I'd let you know.
Well, they're out on the picket line, literally holding hands with Arthur Scargill, Mr. Speaker.
Arthur Scargill, a man that I wasn't in minor protest then. Maggie Thatcher kind of feared him a little bit.
That's them. It's worse than under Jeremy Corbyn. This is a government that is taking this country forward. They would take it back to the 1970s.
For years in Harrogate and Knaresborough, we had the Labour no-growth Northern Rail franchise. Yeah. We now have new rolling stock, more and better services.
Planted question.
To make sure.
Mr. Speaker, on Windrush Day, we celebrate all those who have made Scotland and the UK their home. My party backs calls for a
Scotland and the UK. For God's sake, you're such a narcissist.
Commemoration for the 75th anniversary next year, so we can properly mark the value contribution that those that came here have made. Mr. Speaker, this morning it was revealed that UK inflation is now at a 40-year high. Families right across these islands are seeing their income squeezed as prices rise, bills soar, and Tory cuts and tax hikes hammer home. After 12 years in government, the Tories have left the UK economy in the doldrums and pushed millions of people into poverty. So, can I ask the Prime Minister, does he think his government bears any blame for the fact that the United Kingdom is doing so much worse than our European neighbours?
There have been a lot of talks online, especially obviously online, that Brexit hasn't gone to plan, and a lot of people are starting to get second thoughts about this. Well, I started early chaos because I have other things to do. I'm sorry. My apologies. And there is a lot of talk about that because the Conservatives haven't quite managed to get into their stride in getting a lot of trade deals that benefit us. The Moderna thing's a decent deal. Yeah, sure. But in reality, we need more. We need a lot more. An awful lot more. And they're busy, well, as many have said, Boris seemed to be prioritising making his own money over simply sitting down with the railway companies and the unions to try and get this sorted. Yes, they are responsible for sorting out their own issue, but since we, the taxpayer, pay billions into the railways every year, I think we have a voice at that table.
Actually, Mr. Speaker, I think the whole House knows and the whole country knows we've got a global inflationary problem, but this government has the fiscal firepower to deal with it.
Fiscal firepower. Is this the new bloody catchphrase from him? Fiscal firepower. We don't have many guns in this country. This is a nonsense. It's an Americanism.
Mr. Speaker, and that is, I think, of benefit to the whole of the United Kingdom, including Scotland, as we've seen throughout the pandemic. And I think it's a matter of fact that taxes are actually highest of all in Scotland, Mr. Speaker.
That's debatable. It is hotly debated between the SNP and the rest of us who think they are.
Well, actually, that is not true, Mr. Speaker. But of course, the Prime Minister can make all the excuses he likes. But the fact is, the UK economy is lagging behind on his watch. Actually, if he looks at France, inflation is less than 6% there. This morning's report from the...
Yeah, but let's not talk too much about France. Macron just lost his legislative election. He's not. He can't. He's a lame duck president. A literal lame duck. He's another lame duck like Boris. And I like that. It tickles me.
Resolution Foundation and the London School of Economics is the latest in a string of devastating reports on the outlook for the UK economy. The report could not be clearer. The Tory government...
That's all right. When Boris is done here, he's going to go run for president in America. But Alexander Boris de Pfeffel Johnson was an American name.
Over the next decade. But instead of reversing course,
with a now French dad.
threatening a trade war at the worst possible time. Will he finally come to his senses and negotiate an economic agreement with the EU, or is he going to willfully push the UK into recession?
It's already believed we're in the recession anyway, so I don't think that can be changed by joining the EU or having a trade deal that's somehow different to what we currently have with them.
Mr. Speaker, nobody wants a trade war, nor is there any need for one. But I think I'm afraid he's underestimating what this country is currently achieving. Not just the Moderna investment, but a record venture capital investment in this country, which has now overtaken China, Mr. Speaker, as a venue for venture capital investment, and not to say nothing of what we're getting in tech. And that, of course, Mr. Speaker, the benefits of that are being felt throughout the whole of the United Kingdom.
I haven't felt a single benefit once. You absolute simp. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's see. Hello, chat. I do apologise for not engaging as much with you today. But we have reached the end of PMQs. There is no going back. As a final thing before we finish, please remember to smash like if you did enjoy. I am now going to vanish and do Omegon things for a bit. If there's PMQs next week, we might do it. Might not, though, because I have a friend here. And I'll be going to Wales on Thursday, so I won't be as available. But if you're here tomorrow, there'll be a research stream, part 2 to Foodie Beauty for May 2022. And on Friday, a political recap with Trupsy Wupsy LP. Scrumptious Trupsy Wupsy, of course. So thanks again, and I will see you all tomorrow. Ta-ta, everyone.